Alright, let's get... you know what? I want to actually open this on the other... The one thing that Edge is better for.
Edge does provide a surprisingly efficient way to read and edit PDFs.
Oh, hold on a second. Felix? Oh, no. Oh, lay down, please. Don't mess with that. Yeah. My cat has it in his mind to mess with all my crafting and sewing stuff right now, apparently.
Cats be like that.
Yeah. We'll see if he chills for a bit.
It
Or
is
if he's
their
just
way.
pretending. Okay, let's see. This one. Share. Oh no. Wait, which one is it? This one?
Yep, seems to be the right one.
Yay. Okay. And of course my highlighting is not in here, but we will highlight as we go. Which is typically what's happening for me, I think. Alright, hopefully my tablet doesn't die because it's on 4% and it's plugged in, but... Yeah, no. Okay, where are we? Page 115. I feel unprepared. Okay. We shall put it like this. There we go.
I'm
Just as we're
here.
about to start.
Max. They're here.
Hello.
Alright, so yeah, disclaimer. I didn't actually finish reading the entire thing because a lot of things kept interrupting that needed my attention. But we're gonna get through what we get through. And then maybe Des can help at the end. Yeah. So this, we only read the one chapter because right mindfulness was quite long. And as he points out in the beginning, it's actually the 7th on the Eightfold Path, but it's so important that he wanted to put it earlier so we could really understand how it affects everything else. Which I think what we should take away is that all of the steps will affect all of the other steps. So, you know.
Well, the way he introduces
There's
it here
that.
in the first paragraph is really good, I think. He really points out the interconnectedness of this, of like when you are mindful, our thinking is right thinking and our speech becomes right speech, right? So, because if you can become mindful, a lot of the other things regarding the path they just follow.
Exactly. Let's see. So then I had something that I think is important for us to keep in mind right here in the first page. Talking about attention being a universal, something that's universal. So we are always giving our attention to something. Just like when we were talking about is it volition in the other chapter, that even when you're sleeping, you're still following this, so you have to be very careful about what you're choosing for these things. And also attention is another of those universals. Since we're always giving it to something, we should be mindful or intentional about what we give that to. I forgot how to highlight on here. Oh, it's on this side. It's over here.
You gotta click the highlighter first.
Sorry, I'm like backwards.
No worries.
Here we go. Yeah, I'm like a little slow today. I didn't have proper breakfast or anything either, so
I've only had coffee.
I'm only now having coffee.
Yay, Sleepy Book Club.
Yay.
Haven't had food, having a Red Bull.
All right, go team. We're really taking care of ourselves here.
Yeah,
we're on our
game.
game.
Better this Sunday. Sometimes life happens. We still need to make time for ourselves.
Do as we say, not as we do.
Right.
We know what we should do.
Our words are good.
Action's bad.
I do have water, though. That's something.
So I thought it was an interesting deviation from thought pattern for me when he says to cultivate mindfulness in ourselves is to cultivate the Buddha within, to cultivate the Holy Spirit.
Oh,
So I
okay.
don't feel like he super touches on that again, but it was interesting that he uses that verbiage. Because for me, with a fairly Christian background, it was interesting how that struck a chord in my mind, I guess. I was, I don't know. I often think about how a lot of religious patterns all tie into each other or are very similar, right? And this idea of cultivating something within yourself. I don't know. Anyway, just a thought. Sorry.
No, that is a good point, actually. I had read one of his other texts. He kind of went into this thought a little bit more, and that all of us have like there's a Buddha in everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and we should get in touch with that, right? We should cultivate that. We should water that seed, so to speak, as he keeps that image he keeps using, and sort of awakening something that's already inside of us. We
Yeah.
all have this like inherently, but we need to touch that part of ourselves. And this is how we do it. Let's see. I also highlighted this part here in that second paragraph. It says that right mindfulness accepts everything without judging or reacting. It is inclusive and loving. The practice is to find ways to sustain appropriate attention throughout the day, making sure that we are giving our attention to the right things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's see, what else? What else? Oh, and then we have all of the miracles of mindfulness. He goes into one by one. So how
On
we
that next,
remember.
oh yeah, on that next page where
Mhm.
he starts to say, you and your loved one are here together. You have the chance to see each other deeply, but if you are not fully present, everything will be like a dream. I've mentioned it before in the past. It's kind of at the top of the page. Was, I
Oh yeah.
struggle recently with my sense of like mortality. Recent events in my life have really kind of made it feel like a bright spot in my mind that I need to trying not to hyper focus on and trying to like loosen my grasp on. And this sentence kind of struck the chord for me of like if I'm fixated too long or too hard on this sense of I'm going to leave someday, I can't fully enjoy this present moment with the people that I love.
Mhm.
And so I just kind of appreciated a lot of this chapter for that reason. He hits it a couple times, and this is kind of the first instance.
Yeah, that might be one of the most important parts about mindfulness, right?
Mm-hmm. In this same page, he says, if you do not give right attention to the one you love, it is a kind of killing.
I highlighted that too.
And I thought
It's
that
so strong.
it was such a strong thought, right? And I thought, wow. And I agree with it on a level. If I'm not offering my attention in the right way, what a disservice, you know? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he spends quite a lot of time talking on the relationship with your lover, and I found that.
Well, and it doesn't, I don't think it just has to be romantic here in this instance, right? Like, this strikes a chord with me as I reflect on my friendships, my relationship with my son, my, even my coworkers in many ways of like embracing them for who they are in that moment and offering them a piece of myself in that present moment.
Yeah, I agree. I think it applies to any kind of interaction in general. I guess he's talking about the steps, or the miracles of mindfulness are 1, be present, 2, make the other present, 3, nourish the object of your attention, and then the 4th, to relieve suffering. And talking about loving, I mean, we think about romantic relationships or a spouse, and I think probably too, this is usually one of the closest relationships a person has. Then it's a good example, because where you have more intimacy, you also are likely to have more conflict and more. We overlook a lot of things. There are pain points that versus if you have, I don't know, maybe an acquaintance or relationship of some kind that isn't as close, or you still like that person, but maybe you don't always butt heads with them as much because you're not interacting around issues that are as difficult, maybe, in the daily life and the interactions that you have with that person, versus somebody that you live with and that you are in a relationship with, much more likely to have struggles together, or parts where you butt heads, right? Maybe one of the most challenging places to do these things, but also the most important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this next one I also highlighted this, that to love means to nourish the other with appropriate attention. Actually, I think it was this whole thing. That when you're practicing right mindfulness, you're making yourself and the other person present at the same time. You're like helping to bring them back to the present moment as well. And if you do not express this while you are together, when she passes away or has an accident, you will only cry because before the accident happened, you did not know how to truly be happy together.
Yeah. So sad.
That rather than regret these things, we should kind of like plan ahead, be aware. So you
Yeah,
can't get that
so
back.
just to hit on that
We
again
can
is
only
like,
live in now.
yeah, I've been spending too much time, it feels like, really ruminating on the after I pass, or the what ifs of negativity, and I miss out on some happy moments, I think, and not just with my loved ones at home, but also I've been seeing myself do this as a teacher. I ruminate frequently on what if this class is bad? What if this class acts up again today? You know, instead of trying to appreciate them for who they are in that moment, I think about the what ifs of behavior too much.
What ifs are terrible.
Yes. If only I had a switch in my brain to turn off.
I kind of have one, but I think that's like not something you can count on.
Yeah. We can't all have magic brains like you, Max.
I mean, I wish you did. You'd
I,
have a great time.
I'd accept it. Please give.
Right. I would if I knew how.
Give to Des. Des
Yeah.
accept.
Have brain switch. Feel good.
That's what mindfulness is for.
Yay.
See? You can make your own switch, Des.
I'm very
You can make your
grateful.
own.
I've been working on it. My Switch works better than it used to. I've certainly see progress in myself over the years. I just wish it was. Sometimes I wish it was coming faster.
We'll pay more attention to it.
Ugh.
Yeah. See, that's why it's not faster.
Ugh.
Facts.
What do you mean? Is this guy gotta work at this? It's not just gonna happen.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Gosh.
But we'll get there. We'll get there, right?
Theoretically.
Theoretically, eventually, give it enough time and practice.
Yay.
So number 5 then was looking deeply, is saying that the first aspect of meditation, so being able to stop and be, rest and be in this place that allows you to be mindful, which enables you to then look deeply and get understanding, which is number 6, actually. They kind of follow each other. They flow from each other. Oh, I actually highlighted some here too. That when we are mindful, touching deeply in the present moment, we can see and listen deeply, and the fruits are always understanding, acceptance, love, and the desire to relieve suffering and bring joy. It's kind of 2 things in this. That mindfulness is the tool that enables us to do all of these things, but also that if we're doing it right, it always brings understanding, acceptance, love, and the desire to relieve suffering and bring joy. Meaning, if those things aren't happening, then that first part isn't being done correctly.
Right.
I think a lot of times people will kind of ruminate on something, right? Think about something that happened, especially something upsetting that happened, and come away from it still upset.
Yeah.
But that means they're not doing it right. If that's how you feel and that's how you're thinking at the end, then you need to go back and do it again.
Do it again.
Keep going. You're not done yet, This kind of, I think this is a actually kind of famous quote that he had: when you understand someone, you cannot help but love him or her. Or them.
It's true.
Well, because if I really understand the circumstances somebody's coming from and all the things that have accumulated, well, even beyond the specifics, right? But anyway, generally speaking, when I learn more about a person, it's easier to extend love and patience because I feel, I don't know.
I mean, how are you going to judge them?
Yeah, how
If
can
you
I
get
judge them?
if you understand where they are externally and internally, and therefore all of the choices they make, you can't judge them for the choices they made because you'd make those same choices in that circumstance, right? There's nothing you can point to and say, aha, this is where I can judge you. It's just, aha, I can understand why you did this, and I'm sorry you're suffering for it, or something like that. You just jump over that.
Yeah.
um it's real good.
Yeah, really big example. I think, well, for me, when I'm reading most of these, I tend to keep it like fairly close to home. I think about a lot of the people in my life and how it applies, but this particular one, I also kind of think farther out for things like, people have a lot of hate for, say, political figures, for example, and or celebrities or people that are in the spotlight that we can learn quite a bit about without actually having a direct relationship with them. Like, it's a very one-sided relationship. They don't know we exist, right? But I find myself when thinking about, okay, why is this person like this? Why are they making these decisions? Some things they do are absolutely terrible or seem incredibly selfish and may be incredibly selfish, but why are they doing this, and how did they become the kind of person who made these decisions? And when we learn often about their upbringing, who their parents were, what kind of environment they lived in, and what they were taught at that time, or what kinds of things they needed to do to live in that kind of environment, and then often it's exactly like you said, we just they could only be that. They could never have
Mm-hmm.
been something else. And as bad as they may be in this moment, and maybe at some point they could have made a different decision.
Right.
To go a different way. But if they had not had the right examples for them, if they didn't learn and they didn't build these skills, then where was that strength going to come from for them to defy that environment that they were in and to go a different way? And
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's
it just
interesting. It's because it seems to be predicated on the belief of free will or choice or self, right? Like, maybe you could have done something different. But then you get that clear understanding and you realize, no, they couldn't have. This is what they had to work with. If they had something else to work with, they might have done something different. But they didn't. And the fact that, we think we can choose, I'll do this or that, that's an illusion. The me that's choosing is an illusion. This is just sort of a feedback pattern of environment and body and mind. So when you judge someone, you forget that, right? You forget that there's not really more, or you forget that there isn't more than that. That you think that, well, if I were you, I would have done this, so why haven't you done that? And we entirely miss the whole, yeah, but they're not you. They have different contexts. And it's kind of baffling to me. And I say this as being someone who does it. How easy it is to forget that.
Yeah.
How easy it is to just sort of impugn someone with like, but you have will. Why did you choose the thing I didn't choose?
Yeah. 100%. No. Yeah.
Well said, Max.
Very well said. Oh, so good, Max.
Oh, shut up. My words are just words.
No, they're good words though. Thank you for finding them.
We have accurately captured some very important part of life here.
We did it, gang. We can go home.
We're enlightened. Yay!
Yeah.
Won't matter that we didn't read the rest of the chapter.
I had an interesting discussion with somebody actually very recently about how sometimes we start something and we think it's not worth starting unless we know we can finish.
Oh, God.
So I want to assure people, I guess, or you guys or myself even, that, just because I don't think I have time to finish the chapter doesn't mean it wasn't worth starting to read. What amount you did read is worth it. And I catch myself doing this with books and other projects, right? Of like, I guess it's not worth doing any of it if I can't do all of it. And I think that's a a false way to think.
Fallacious.
Fallacious is a good word.
You're absolutely right. It is entirely hogwash. I'll just use a different word.
Like, if all the time you have is to read half the chapter, that's fine. That's better than no chapter.
That's half a chapter more than you would have otherwise. So, like,
I think the point is we're reading this because it's worth reading, right? So whatever amount we do.
Yeah, whatever amount you read or have time for, that was worth it, and that was a good time.
And that is my experience of it, very much so.
I love you guys.
Love all around. Felix, hold on a second. My cat.
Kitty cat. Kitty break.
He is disgruntled, and he was whining very softly.
Oh.
But now he's just laying down, so I'm not sure what he's upset about. I think he's upset that I am on the computer.
He wants to be on the computer too.
Oh, he's like, why are you always looking at the screen? Yeah. Why are you paying attention to that thing again?
My cat likes it when I sit at the computer because then he sits on me.
Oh, my lap's too small. The cat can't fit.
I don't have that problem.
He's so big, and then he tries to sit, and he sort of slips off, and then he looks so offended.
My cat curls up on my chest and over my shoulder a little bit.
Sit here, bud. Here. Here's a spot next to me. Felix, you want to sit here? Come here. Look. Well, whatever. We will deal with him later.
You'd have to place a box next to you, then he would sit in there.
He has a box next to me. He also has a pillow on the other part.
Okay.
He just won't. He's just grumping. He knows what's here. He's just grumping. Moving on.
We're so
I really,
today.
really liked... Yeah. That's okay. We had a good conversation. It's all that matters. But I really liked this paragraph here. This is so true to not my own experience, but also everybody else that I've seen. Like I've witnessed this so many times, but I like bringing us back to this image too, or this he's talking about habit energy. He's talking about a guy who wants to overcome a habit such as smoking, because like in our minds we know that that's bad for our body and for our mind. So he wants to stop, but that when we begin this practice, our habit energy is still stronger than our mindfulness, so we don't expect to stop smoking overnight. We only have to know that we are smoking when we are smoking. And as we continue and seeing all the effects that it's having on body, mind, family, community, we become determined to stop. It's not easy, but the practice of mindfulness helps us see the desire and the effects. And then eventually we have to find a way that Sangha is important. So one man who came to Plum Village had been trying to stop smoking for years but couldn't. And at Plum Village, he stopped his first day because the group energy was so strong. No one is smoking here, why should I? It can take years to transform a habit energy, but when we do, we stop the wheel of samsara, the vicious cycle of suffering and confusion that has gone on for so many lifetimes.
That's good stuff.
I appreciate it's different, but I'm like, he's coming in saying peer pressure is the way.
But it's true, right? The environment.
Kind of.
And I'm sure nobody there was telling him, like, hey, smoking is bad. Why do you keep smoking, right?
I don't think he was getting chastised for it. He just realized.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, everyone else is going about their life, and I need to stop and do this thing? Like, why?
Yeah.
That's right, Des. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize for greatness.
Oh no. My tablet had died in the middle of me reading this, and it seems the rest of my highlights didn't save.
Oh no.
Oh no.
So
we'll just figure it out as we go.
Yeah. So rather than copying them over here, I'm just gonna have to read through and hope that it stands out to me again.
It might.
If anybody else finds one, please speak up. But
a lot of this section felt like references to other stuff.
Yeah.
But then near this page that you're on now, I did end up highlighting near the bottom where it says they feel their body is an obstacle and they want to mistreat it, which I thought was a very good insight because I frequently feel like my body is an obstacle. And so that hit me a little bit as I thought about the balance between coming into my body, being present with it and aware of it, but like not being overwhelmed with the faults that I find in it when I do that. You know what I mean? So TMI for everybody, I'm having some bodily issues currently. And so I'm in pain. And so coming into the present moment makes me aware of that pain. And so, but being kind enough not to, and present enough not to cling to that information is a really weird place to be in my mind. And so I absolutely empathize right now with this idea that my body is an obstacle.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate to that. But a thought I had the other day was basically, I mean, and it was a kind of weird chain of thoughts. So what I started at was basically the steward of my house, right? And if I extend that, I'm in a way also the steward of my body. So and maybe I can, yeah, it's something that has been quote unquote entrusted to me, and I have a certain responsibility for it. So I should try to take care of it as good as I can. And also be passionate towards it as I would to a child or to an animal or whatever have you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
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 Good insight, Ben.
That's good. We all agree. Yes.
Yes. Feel the Dharma flow through your veins. Oh. I'm a terrible. Who let me have any authority in this server? I swear.
It was me.
All right, everybody,
I
blame
did.
Max.
Yeah, do it.
Taking responsibility. Ah, sorry, I had to go deal with my cat. He decided he wanted to start doing bad things.
Mm.
Right, kitty.
Ah. Okay, where were we? Where were we?
We're talking about our body as an obstacle. We all agreed
Yes.
that Ben was
Oh, there's
right,
four
and we should treat it like a
establishments.
baby or a child
Uh-huh.
that we would be patient with.
I did hear. I just kind of like.
While you were
attention
gone, we all
binding.
became enlightened, and we're ready now to exit
Oh
the
yeah, that's
cycle
what
of
happened.
samsara. So goodbye.
I wish I could say that and then evaporate in front of someone.
That would be amazing.
Just watch them lose their mind.
Oh.
Oh, this is what I had highlighted. All the different parts, the ways that we can practice this mindfulness of the body in the body, noting the body's movements and positions, recognizing our body's parts.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Seeing the elements that we're made of, so that whole interbeing that we're all, there is the self and the outside of the self made of the same things.
I will say the enthusiasm he brings in this chapter to just like, look at all these neat things that we're one with, man, reminds me of when I was in high school and I joined an astronomy club, and I got to look through a giant telescope at the Milky Way, and I was just like, oh, dang. And it was like one of the first times I really grasped how large the universe was. Like, I'm not saying I can grasp infinity, but you know what I mean? Just really recognize, like, the Earth is tiny. Like, just blew my mind. And he just kind of feels like he's bringing that same energy here, right? Of, it's so big, man.
Yeah.
We're one with it.
I can see that.
I love it. It's good, and I enjoyed being brought back to that mentality of like, I'm gonna call it beginner's mind. I think it is very much a beginner's mind being presented here, of just being like wowed by the simple things, the simple but massive things of being made of these elements and these connectedness, and how while we feel like a complete complex creature as a human, that really our processes are no different than the water and fire and air around us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, that was my take.
We're the avatar.
We are the avatar.
That's another way to see it, I suppose.
Yes. Once we've mastered all of the elements, we can take on the Fire Nation.
The Fire Nation of suffering.
The Fire Nation is suffering.
Oh, there's this big two. Okay, apparently this is just not gonna go in a straight line. That's fine.
If you don't start on a word, that's where it's weird highlighting, is you just like get freedom highlighter, and it's like you're holding a real highlighter.
Uh-huh. This is just the summary of all of this other stuff.
I like the little sentence before that little poem he has there that you highlighted. Nothing is more precious than being in the present moment, fully alive and fully aware. And I think that's a great summary of all this whole section of just embracing it, because that's what makes it precious and beautiful, is really accepting this gift that is life for what it is and being fully aware of it.
Yeah, very much I think that might be the point of the entire thing, right? He's teaching us how to be mindful because of that exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reason we do this. This is the reason we practice the steps and we practice breathing and recognize these things while we're breathing to bring us back to here, because that's the only place, right? It's the only place that we are alive is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything before and after is either gone or hasn't happened yet and may never.
Yes. I did not highlight anything on that particular page myself. Not that it wasn't good stuff. Because it's a very practical little walkthrough of like, how do I do deep breathing and slow breathing, which I like about Thich Nhat Hanh's writing is like, he's not just saying, go do the thing. He does take a moment to explain how to do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am guilty of that sometimes.
Just do the thing.
So it's like, hey, what is this? And I'm like, just go do the thing.
What is that? How do I do it?
What
What's
what
that
thing?
mean?
You know,
The thing.
the thing.
Just do it. Just do the thing.
Just do it, man.
Just meditate. If you meditate, and then again, the people do something, but they didn't do it right, and then it doesn't have the results that they're supposed to have.
Yeah. But then on this next page, I did highlight, when we have a pleasant feeling, we may have a tendency to cling to it. And when we have an unpleasant feeling, we may be inclined to chase it away. And I very much have to implement that practice quite a bit of like not doing those things, of over clinging or chasing away. I was discussing with someone the other day about, when anger arises, I was trying to explain the difference between not clinging to something and suppressing emotion. Because I think in an earlier stage of development, you want to suppress things, put them in boxes and bottle them away, right? You think that that's taking care of the emotion because now I'm not outwardly reacting, right? I've presented a facade of calm. So that means I've dealt with the emotion correctly, but that's not healthy. That's not the appropriate route. And so finding out what it means to not chase something away, but to observe it and let it pass is a really difficult journey, I think. So I highlighted that.
Yeah, tying back to an earlier chapter, I can't remember where, but saying if we face our feelings with care, affection, and nonviolence, we can transform them into a kind of energy that is healthy and nourishing.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
Not bottling it up or tucking it away somewhere, like you just said, but we have to deal with them. We have to process them.
Right, I'm not just going to
identify
shove
them.
Ben's emotional child in a closet. I have to take care of it. I'm like, if I'm genuinely approaching my body and these emotions that arise like a child, right? I can't just lock them in a closet, hopefully. Otherwise, the Buddhist CPS police will come for you. I'm helping them cope. It's wild to me that we have to teach our own emotions how to be, right? How does one teach their anger how to calm down and not just themselves? So anyway, that's a whole thought process in my mind.
Yeah, that's the same image too that keeps recurring in this book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a mother, we must be like a mother. That we love our child when sweet and also when they're crying. We have to take care that everything that takes place in our body and our mind needs to be looked after equally.
Mm-hmm. As he says, on that same page, even, this page is very good. It's got lots of stuff. Breathing in, I calm my anger. Breathing out, I take care of my anger. Right?
Yeah.
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 The whole rest of that too.
Heck yeah.
Like just recognizing the thing is there. Giving that attention to that part already can bring some relief immediately. It doesn't fix everything, but you're already better than you started. If you can just do that one step even.
Even just for a moment, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pop with anything on this next page myself. Except the don't wait to begin to practice until you're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It may be too late.
Yeah. I mean, people can really ruin their lives if they don't know how to do this skillfully, right?
I sort of think about it like waiting to go to the dentist, like waiting to brush your teeth until you have a cavity. You should be brushing your teeth regularly to prevent cavities.
Or maybe a more extreme version in some cases until all your teeth fall out or something.
Yeah,
like...
yeah, getting really extreme with it.
I mean, he doesn't say it here, but really, I mean, we're talking about anger, and, you know, when our feelings are stronger than our mindfulness, we suffer, and then we can overcome this. But too late could be anything from, you know, causing yourself health problems, making bad decisions, like ruining important aspects of your life. It could also be in really extreme cases, like, I mean, when people murder somebody in the heat of the moment, kind of, you know, they let they're slave to their emotions. They let this blind rage take over them. They do things that maybe they regret for many reasons. You know, that might have been somebody really important to them. That could be they just, besides the part where, you know, typically you'd get
Right, like when my baby is
charged and
screaming and I
sentenced.
want to smash his head into the wall, I don't, because I would regret that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not what you actually want. It's just this feeling.
I would like the end of my suffering.
Overcoming,
And when I recognize that the suffering is not my fault or the baby's fault.
Yeah, baby also wants end of suffering.
Just not by way of smashed head.
Yeah.
Some might say that increases suffering.
Oh, maybe.
But what do they know?
Caveat, I'm not going to smash my child's head. And if I get that far, I hand him off to my husband and say, it's your turn.
Oh, here.
Okay.
I remember I definitely highlighted this bit. We kind of touched on earlier, but the universal formations, contact, attention, feeling, perception, and volition, that they're always there, whether we're recognizing them or not. We always have these things, or we're always doing these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that the rest of these too can arise from that, and that being mindful, we can carefully cultivate specific ones and avoid others. The wholesome and the unwholesome. And this kind of ambiguity of some of them too. I like this. You know, when our body and mind need rest, sleep is wholesome. But if we sleep all the time, it can be unwholesome.
I highlighted that too. I really liked him pointing it out because it's on the one hand, in a fast-paced go 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 world, it's great to point out the fact that you are not lacking because you need to rest. But also, don't rest too much.
The middle way.
And I think that that's good.
Yeah, that's another thing that's just so simple. But at the same time, we should pay attention to it. Let's see.
I highlighted every time a mental formation arises, we can practice mere cognition. When we are agitated, we just say, I am agitated. Mindfulness is already there.
Mm-hmm.
He goes further into it, but I think when I was beginning, much like it's okay to only read half the chapter, I think sometimes if you can just get to the point of recognizing these things, you're halfway there.
Oh.
Like, being able
so
to
can't push us around.
Yeah.
Or that horse imagery we had, right? I do remember this part here.
Mm-hmm.
Of bringing it back to that idea of our store consciousness in the form of a seed, that the seeds we water are the ones that kind of take over and that grow in that garden of our mind and our consciousness. that something someone does may water the seed of agitation, and then agitation manifests in our mind consciousness. But if we see that happening, that we can then encourage it to grow the way we want, whether that's like go back to dormancy or to cultivate and grow and blossom. And I really love that image, but it's a very good way to put it too. It's not just what we are consciously consuming. It's not, not just the activities that we are engaging in and the media that we consume and how we're taking care of ourselves, but also sometimes things that other people do, maybe like someone else may come in and water that, and we need to pay attention when that's happening. We need to recognize when it's happening so that we can have that control, so that we can be that gardener. And maybe, ideally, help them too.
Yeah. To summarize my take pretty much on, like, I'll say the next 2 pages, I really think it's fun, the interesting philosophical journey he takes us on quickly about that our agitation or any emotion really can be an inheritance from a society, and that our ideas may also, like, blossom from that society. And he kind of leads into eventually that we'll, through this and through recognizing this, you can kind of come to understand the deep roots of your emotions and your mind, and that the mindfulness helps transform them from there, right? And so just recognizing that sometimes agitation arising can go beyond the moment, which I think is a funny counterpoint to being fully present in the moment. That's a whole other thought process on my part. But yeah, thought that was neat.
Yeah, this is about toward the end of where I got before we started today. So after that page, I don't have anything else highlighted. This is the end. So Jess, if you want to take over for this last little bit, anything else that stood out to you in the last 10 pages
mostly,
or so?
It's gonna be like hot and fast highlights here. So in this next part, you're kind of getting there now. He says, when we are attentive to a bird singing, that sound is the object of our mind. And I think what he really gets into these next couple pages is the power of objects that become the focus of our attention and observation, and the importance of that practice, not only of giving the attention and observation, but being mindful of where we're directing it. And then it's all a lot of good stuff. I honestly, I didn't highlight a lot because some of it is vocabulary I still need to spend time researching. He talks about like 18 elements and discourse on the realms, which may be getting into a spiritual aspect of Buddhism that I don't personally practice. And so while I find these things fascinating and worth time of like perhaps research and learning about, I haven't in the past. But I do appreciate where he talks eventually about the depth of these realms, like joy and authenticity of that exploration. But then he talks about things like the universal door and the Lotus Sutra. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, buddy.
So maybe
like,
this is one we revisit later.
So yeah, I could see this being worth revisiting later with some more outside research. Because while I find Thich Nhat Hanh's writings generally approachable, here he kind of lost me a bit. And despite my best abilities, it's funny to say that I read it, but I also zoned out at the same time. So
good.
I recognized where I was not very mindful during my readings. Like I kind of picked up some of the words. I just kind of zoned out and skimmed for a bunch of it. And then I kind of clued back in when he started talking about contemplating interdependence as a deep look into the Dharma and its real nature. And I thought that was kind of interesting and more like my brain was like, ooh. But he goes in and out of a lot of verbiage. I'll say, as far as like pages in this go, it is way down in this text, like pages down, like page 145 of the PDF, where I really clued back in and felt, I know, like I really like ducked out for a hard moment there. And on 145, I really liked where he says, do not lose yourself in the past. Do not lose yourself in the future. Do not get caught in your anger, worries, or fears. Come back to the present moment and touch life deeply. This is mindfulness. And I thought it was such a lovely, beautiful little summary of this process and this relationship with things. And that whole little paragraph actually is, I think, worth highlighting almost, but I tried to only highlight this really juicy bit. This whole little bit here really drives home to me what mindfulness accomplishes beyond, I'll say, I think it's easy to think mindfulness is only going to allow you a sense of control over your emotions, but really its accomplishment in many ways can be the beauty it reveals about the world and what it can mean to be alive.
That's very well said.
And I'll be honest, then I zoned out again. And then looks like on the last page I thought, without understanding our actions, oh, fudge nuts. Why does it do this when I do that? Okay, figured it out. Sorry, my PDF like jumped ahead to the end of the book because I clicked something. Without understanding, our actions might cause others to suffer. We may be motivated by the desire to make others happy, but if we do not have understanding, the more we do, the more trouble we may create. And I think that's a really important lesson to learn, right? And it reminds me of skillful means and skillful just approaches. Like, I may have the best of intentions. I may have the best hopes and desires for this person I'm interacting with, but that without an understanding of them and the actual moment and what's going on, despite all of my best intentions, I can be creating more suffering for them. And I thought that was a nice little tidbit for this chapter to end on. So that is my hot and fast last 10 pages of this chapter for you.
We did it.
Yay! Thank you, Des. I kind of dropped the ball a little bit this week.
It's okay. It happens. Life happens.
Sometimes we drop balls. Sometimes we pick them up.
Sometimes they just hit us in the face and break our glasses.
Make us make strange noises.
Like in 3rd grade basketball. And then your parents get mad because you have to get another pair of glasses.
Oh no.